Yahoo Answers. I wanted to look at this because if people heard of Yahoo Answers, people heard of Google Answers. Google Answers was, and it's defunct. I was saddened to find out. Google Answers was a place where you could post a question and say, all right, I'll pay $3 if somebody can tell me how many modems there are in the world. Honest to God, a question they had. Or they could say, and it was really funny because people would post things like, I will pay $20 if somebody can find me parking for less than $50 a year by Stanford through the school year. So questions from that perspective to very market research oriented. And people would say, I will pay you $100 if you can find a distributor for product XYZ in Hawaii, in Hong Kong, wherever, these sort of things. But there was a rigorous process to become a Google Answer girl, as I affectionately, because I was a Google Answer girl for a short time. I have a master's degree in library science. They cared about this sort of thing. I had worked on a similar project, the Internet Public Library, IPL, also defunct at the University of Michigan, for a lot. So I'm like, well, I'm about as qualified as you can be. So from that librarian perspective, from having to this is a whole different service. And that's why I was like, I'm going to look into this. This is more where you just ask the community. You just post a question, and you hope that somebody will answer you. So you can ask questions, answer questions. Might as well go through all of the. You can do research on what has been previously asked. You can track different topics. You can earn points, which I didn't have to. Well, you can earn points if you ask a question, you earn some points. If you answer a question, you earn more points, and it's kind of reminds me of that Drew Carey. You get all these points, but the points don't count. But the points will let people know how active you've been in the community. And following some logic, you'd think somebody who's been more active would maybe be, I don't know, a better resource.
And people can rate your answers to questions. So people with a higher overall rating of their answers and they're active in the community, they get sort of more presumed expertise.
These are some of the famous participants that I thought was so funny, and I have no idea if they would really be the people, but yeah. See if I can even recognize who some of these pictures are now. Senator Clinton, Oprah, Bono, only had to remember that, couldn't recognize.
That looks like Noriega.
Noriega, a.k.a. Millionaire. Al Gore, Click and Clack from public radio. William Shatner. That's all I'm going to say about that. McCain and Stephen Hawking. So they all had different questions. All of these people, their question was, what can we do about poverty? Not all, but pretty much. That was any of the famous people. They were obviously using this as a tool to promote an idea or promote an ideal. Yeah, I think we're.
There's no cost.
It's free.
No, this is free. I'm sorry, this is free.
For an answer
this is free.
Or anything.
And the librarian in me says
it's
free because you get what you pay for. I mean, I think that, but not that so you can use this to get advice from strangers. So, this is what I thought was more interesting, is to start communities. I mean, I think that when Oprah posts a message about what can we do about poverty, she's starting a community from that perspective. I looked through it a little bit, and there was some, and they're all, I mean, you look and there's a directory of topics. And so you can kind of self-select into one of them. And I don't make hesitant this little, but one, I remember that Twin City Freenet used to be an online web conferencing tool, and that web chat room sort of thing, and this reminded me of that. Someone had written in, I fed my baby the wrong kind of formula, now what do I do? And I just had to laugh because all of the different responses that people, oh, you'll be okay, oh yeah, it's very funny. The worst, and this is, where can me and my daughter go in Chicago? Grammar lessons? And I thought, I won't. I won't. Everybody else has been really nice. But I just thought, that's what I thought was the most valuable of this, was getting that sense of community and getting to know people who had shared interests. Because I'm a librarian, I would take any advice from a stranger from a grain of salt. But now from that perspective, I guess you could, I am going to buy a car, who's happy with their Toyota? I'm going to, that sort of thing from that. So get reference answers. I could barely even write this. So, but I think to promote an idea and then to build expertise, again, if you wanted to build yourself as an expert in some field, doing some of these things, I think would set you up online. That when people are doing a search for, you want to be an expert in electronic discharge machining. I work with somebody who does electronic discharge machining. Well, if you were the one on here talking about electronic discharge machining, if you were the one twittering away on electronic discharge machining, then when people are searching for electronic discharge, now I can't even say it, electronic EDM, then you would start to filter to the top. And that's why I think a lot of these tools are valuable.
That's a great example of your point of how do you reach out, how do you get your information to these people? Very narrow target marketing. And it's the self-selected audience too, who search for that phrase. Not a lot of people are going to search for it, but you don't need to reach a lot of people. You need to reach that person, to get your message across. So I use this. A lot of things I do is leveraging the in-house expertise of people within their own companies. So you've got a lot of people with a lot of knowledge of a given topic and know your organization's topic in depth. Take that expertise, put it online, demonstrate that you're an expert, and that way you can get your message out. You can build your organization's profile online, and that's primarily how I'd use it. But it is one of the most popular services that Yahoo offers too.
What I thought was amazing is this is up and the Google Answers isn't. I mean,
the price has something to do with that too.
Well, yes, but you could set the price. You could set the price with Google Answer. Yeah. And what you're saying, I know my dad had a software development company, and they were looking for somebody with very unique skills. And they, a couple of years ago, used Google. They knew what problem that they needed to solve. Did a search, and they found 2 guys in all of the world. And that's how they were able to find them. And these guys had actually been active on communities like this. They didn't necessarily have a website. They didn't have anything like that. But they had just been active enough that they filtered to the top. And I know that I think one was in Iceland. Like, that's all right. We'll fly in. We need you. It was so super narrow. It was so super narrow that they needed. And that's, when I help with people with things, I sort of think, I work with a lot of resorts. We don't necessarily care about coming up number 1 for vacation. That's Disney. We want to come up number 1 for Minnesota vacation, and then even further narrow it down to that from that perspective. This was my other the reasons you could do that. You could. They kind of promote the idea of answering questions just to be nice.
The argument versus the answer culture. This is a primary example of that.
Very much, and grounded. By that I mean if you had 3 kids. You could be in there being nice to people. But,
So there it is.
That's